You ever see a model in a store and you're like, wow, that model looks awful. And then you look a little closer at the box and there's like a little guy, a little goober that comes with it. And you're like, oh, well, no, maybe I'll buy this. That's how I felt about this whole project. I originally bought this box for like $20. And I wanted the little mushroom man that's in it. And that was really it. That's all I wanted. I wanted the little mushroom guy. I love Dungeons & Dragons micronids. I didn't like the big ugly troll, so I was like, I'll just cut off the mushrooms and I'll keep it for myself and I'll use it for another project. But then something came to me and I was like, you know what? It's just gonna sit in my bulk box of bits. I should do something with it. So here we are. When looking at the model, I had to fix the huge crack that went across its entire back. This is helpful towards the end of the project, but, you know, I used some sprue goo, and when I applied it and after it dried, it was pretty smooth, so I didn't feel like I needed to sand it, and it worked out pretty well. I didn't really have an idea in mind when building this, and honestly, I think that's okay. Kit bashing is all about you complete one piece and you look through your little bits and you find something that might be interesting and you keep looking, then you find something that turns out to be better. After looking for some parts for a little bit, I realized I didn't really like the trolley hands, so I found this ugly bobblehead that was just sitting in my closet. I don't know where it came from, I don't know when I bought it, but I have it and I'm taking its hands. I also have this one sprue of like 6 Tyranid claws, and I was figuring I could make one hand have all the claws, the other hand be stumpy, kind of like it's like a mutated creature. You know, so I removed the fingers to make a spot for 3 for each, because I realized having one big claw hand isn't necessarily like interesting when it's 5 huge fingers and you have to get a lot of the detail in there. So I decided to go with 3. After kind of cutting this triangular shape into the hand, I decided I wanted to build up the knuckles. I didn't necessarily know how big I wanted everything to be, so this was kind of a process. But after going through the steel ball bearing like accessory box that I have, I found ones that I felt weren't too big if I wanted them as just like a joint, and also if I put green stuff over them, they wouldn't look tumory, if that makes sense to people who are watching. After green stuffing it up, I tried to smooth it out the best I can. I'm very new to green stuff, where I'm not just sticking it on and putting a bunch of greeblies over top of it. I don't do a lot of organic kit bashing, so this was definitely an experience. I also lost all the ball bearings I placed on my desk. They decided to immediately roll off and scatter, and I actually don't know where those original 6 went. I had to get new ones. When adding the ball bearings, I tried to smooth the green stuff to the best of my ability. I knew it wasn't going to be necessarily 1-to-1 with the plastic, but I got pretty close, and honestly, in the end result, it paid off really well. They also kind of look like little frogs here in this little piece. I thought that was funny. When looking at the head for the body, I don't like the troll face. I don't really like Warhammer trolls in general. I just think they look like Dalmatian dogs mixed with that one puppet from Amazing World of Gumball. So instead, I took this little bat goblin creature out of the kit. I cut the wings off, I cut the tail off, and I'm using that as my head. And the more and more I was getting into creating this project, I was realizing that I'm making a rancor. I mean, just look at him. It's a rancor. I even added some of the jowl kind of detail, and the more and more I'm looking at it, it's like, this is a rancor with a loincloth. So I kind of leaned into that more with the green stuff. I added a lot more detail into the neck, making it look kind of close to the skin, but also kind of indented like it's like extended flesh. I think the product turned out pretty good. I wish I smoothed it out a little bit better. I should do more research on how to smooth out green stuff, but, you know, it's a learning process. That's what's fun about doing projects like this. You get to learn from models, and you get to also see your progression. After finishing up the jowls, I tried to test fit the hands to see how I felt about it, and shocker, I didn't like them at all. Like, not even a little bit. It was really hard looking at these. The problem is that I made them big enough for the left hand to look really cool and menacing, but the right hand, from the way that it's positioned and how it's close to the body, really looked stupid, and it was also hard to see any of that chest and neck detail on the right side that I had worked really hard on making. So I did what anyone would do. I cut it off. I gave him a little nub, and, you know, I think it adds a little bit of character to him. Especially when you see how large the left hand is. It kind of makes him seem, you know, like this thing's not unkillable, but it's definitely gonna be hard. After smoothing off that nub that I just created, attaching his hand, and also green stuffing it to look really nice, all off camera, I know, I'm very professional, I decided to give it a black primer. Now, I'm not good at painting, because I don't do painting. I like kitbashing, and then my little gray creature with green on him normally sits on a shelf, and that's the end of the project. So, yeah, you know, I think that that's pretty bad, honestly. So, I wanted to paint him. I only know how to do, like, dry brushing and then do speed paints over top of that. But I also tried to use just some base colors and do some highlighting. It didn't turn out necessarily the best, but we'll get into that in a little bit. So I dry brushed it with just kind of a neutral gray, and then I really wanted to make sure his back was very vibrant. I wish that I dry brushed his neck and face a little bit better. It comes out a little dark. But we live, we learn, we regret, we suffer. All the good stuff. After dry brushing it, I used this red speed paint. It's from the Army Speed Paints set. I'll have it up somewhere on the screen. And it came out really pink. And at first I was like, oh, okay, well, I guess he's pink. And I wanted like a really good darker red. So I gave a second coat, and honestly it looks fantastic. I really like how it came out. Like I said, I wish the face a little lighter. It's kind of hard to see a lot of the detail in the face. But after that I used this like dark kind of bone color for the teeth and the claws. I then proceeded to make like a brown wash for them and put that on. And then the palm was a mixture of like 4 different paints to get this nice kind of palmy beige color. Originally I was going to paint it just black, and I was like, there's not a lot of color on this model, and I really do want it to kind of break it up a little bit, just so it's not so meh. I was also having trouble looking at the wrist, which is something that I totally forgot to mention. I put a little chainsaw chain, little ripcord chain, that was from a old Gundam chainsaw that I had laying around, and I just took the teeth off of it and made it into like a little, almost kind of like a little cuff. After that, I did a leather brown on the leather, and I did a little. This is literally where the highlights come in. I did a little bit of highlights on it. I think they look fine. I just think if I had a bigger canvas on it, I could have done a little bit better. And honestly, I might even come back and I might highlight the palms of the creature, because I think maybe there should be a little bit more detail in there. Did gold for the little chain pieces. I get that it's probably supposed to be like stone, but I like the little bit of gold accent. I love gold in models. Painted his little toenails, and the base was just like a bone, was just a bone white, and that's the end of the project. I made this little guy. He's pretty cool, and you know, am I super excited about how he came out? Not necessarily. I think he could have been a little bit better if I was better at painting, and who's to say that I don't come back to this project and I repaint him later. I just really wanted to complete a model, and honestly, even though the paint job's not exactly what I wanted, it's kind of Dungeons and Dragons higher quality model level, and not really necessarily like Warhammer. It's tabletop ready is essentially what it is, and honestly, I'm pretty proud of myself for actually finishing it. This actually took me like a week, but that was also a week of being like, I don't really want to paint this thing, so I didn't work on it whatsoever. And then I was working on it, and I was like, but if I finish it, I have to paint it, and so I stopped doing that for a little bit. And you know, it should have been, I should have taken this a lot more seriously to actually finish a project, and I think I would have gotten it a lot sooner. And you know, and I think back more on other projects that I have that sit around unfinished, and I think I can do it. I really think I can finish my models that have been sitting on the shelf for years that are just unpainted, and I think that that's what I'm gonna do with this channel. You know, I'm gonna document me finishing my projects, because I know seeing other YouTubers finish their projects makes me want to finish my project, so I'm hoping I'm able to do that for someone else. A little thing before we end this video, I named him Stieg. I know, his name is Stieg. He's a little guy.